Hi, Carrie.
Hi, Josh.
I just feel like I get to breathe. I look forward to this. And when we come in here and we get this going, like, it's all like we're scrambling around,
I
and then
know.
they hit the record button. It's like, oh,
Oh, this is what we're doing
great.
now.
What are we
Yeah.
talking about today?
Mm-hmm.
But how have you been?
Yeah, good.
School started.
Yep.
And you got
Back to school
right.
time.
You don't look like you're stressed out, Mom.
I
Are you fooling
prefer
me?
school than
Oh,
summer.
okay. You're
not
excited.
not in life,
I was
but
excited.
in structure.
Yeah, you don't want to be in school anymore. I do miss school.
I miss it. If I could make money doing it, I'd probably do it.
Yeah,
But it's the other way around. So
enough money.
yeah.
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 What do you miss about? Do you miss like school, like high school, or do you miss like college?
Oh no, high school. No.
Yeah, I don't.
Yeah, college. Undergrad.
What do you miss the most?
The freedom.
Undergrad, I agree
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah.
The freedom.
The freedom, the learning, the atmosphere, the potential.
Yeah. You said the potential. I miss being potential.
I miss being
I
potential.
don't like having arrived.
I don't like that all being done. You stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah,
The
that's
whole
true.
achieving success is the journey that matters.
Yeah.
No, I don't. I say it a lot. I really do. I miss getting up, putting on shorts and a t-shirt and
Yeah.
flip-flops, and walking across campus with going to find your class. I miss lectures. I miss sitting and learning and absorbing all the information. I don't miss tests or writing papers or all the stuff that comes with deadlines, but I really do miss lectures. And
Learning.
I was I think I don't know if it's because in whether it was junior high or high school or whatever, I didn't get the quality of education that some people got. I don't know. It's just it was an experiencing being taught in that setting was just something completely new, and I loved it. But
That's
it might have just also been part of growing up. I don't want to dog on any like my high school
Sure. No, that's
or anything
yeah,
like that.
yeah.
But
Well, I also feel like it's different in college because you chose to be there,
yeah,
right? It's just
well, I did. That's for sure.
yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
in
No
theory,
one was forcing me.
in theory, everyone chooses to be there, whether they perceive that
Right.
as being completely
Yes.
true. But yeah, it's different than required legal schooling through
Right.
grade 12. Right?
Yeah. So I do miss it. Well, so we're going to talk about something that we encounter quite a bit. And so I'll just let everybody know, then we'll go to our bumper video. But so we're going to talk about faithful partners that experience this very common emotion that happens when they experience infidelity, which is foolishness. So don't go anywhere. All right, we're back. So again, thank you. Well, let me just kind of start by just welcome everybody to Therapist Take podcast. We're thankful for anybody who has watched these videos or listened to them on the audio platforms. We appreciate your support. Before we dive into our topic today, just want to remind everybody that if you're watching this on YouTube or if you're not watching this on YouTube, to head over to YouTube and subscribe to our channel. So it just helps with the algorithms and gets our content out to more people. And also feel free to peruse the channel some. If you're listening to this on the audio platforms, please give us a 5-star review. And if you want to go the extra mile and write us something nice, that would be welcome for sure. So I noticed that when I would talk, when I go and edit these videos and stuff, I move my hand like this. Does that help people?
I don't know, but I talk
So
with my hands too.
Yeah. Go to YouTube. Go to, like
I do in session for
this
sure.
this is you going.
Going, and here it is at the end
Here
of
it
my
is.
hand.
Like
Yes.
you're going.
Yes.
You know, if I don't do that, you might not know what I mean.
It's true.
So, anyways, I caught myself doing that. So it's kind of
You're
like
gonna
when
sit on your hand now.
yeah, no, it's kind of like when you're taking pictures and you're like, what am I supposed to do with my hands? My son is the case, and he's the most awkward with that. He's like,
Yeah.
you know, like you could just tell he's like.
All of a sudden, he's so aware
Yeah.
his hands don't know what to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we should all just do something really strange with our hands while we're, like
Maybe that's where
make
the bunny
peace
ears thing came
symbols.
from or something. People are like, I don't know
Probably, I
what to
imagine that
do.
is. Yeah, yeah. That's just kids like not wanting to be there
Yeah,
anymore,
or
doing this.
yeah, true. Which is most pictures,
Right. Yeah.
family pictures for sure.
So we're going to talk about faithful partners who feel foolish after they have discovered infidelity in their relationship. So these are the faithful partners, not the unfaithful partners. And so it's a very common phenomenon. I don't think everybody feels it.
No.
Sometimes I think it's overshadowed by anger, and it's not the only feeling you feel. But I would guess if it's anecdotal, but if I were to put a number to it, I'd probably say like 95%
Yeah.
of partners who discover infidelity really battle this feeling.
Sure. Yeah. No, I think overwhelming majority do.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, again.
You see partners more than I do, so
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think it's true, and I think what the foolishness is about may be a little bit unique to who they are and their lived experiences, but I think
Right.
I think it's kind of part embedded in the journey.
Right. Yes. And so we're going to talk about that. So we're going to dive before we dive headstrong into it. I'll go ahead and give you guys the structure of this episode and kind of how we have structured it and the topics, the talking points to cover. So if we put that on the screen, we're going to talk about to kind of start off, why do partners feel compelled to blame themselves in general. Then Carrie and I are going to talk about these three common experiences with foolishness, like these three things that partners often say why they feel foolish, And then we're going to talk about the idea of facing a world of uncertainty, and then kind of finish with this journey of gaining self. So we often talk about the journey of self-discovery. So it's one thing to discover self, but this gaining, or sometimes maybe reclaiming, but I don't even know if that's the right word either. But and so we're going to talk about kind of what that means or looks like, and then we will have solved this problem.
It's check that off the list.
I know.
That's
Only
nice.
got like 5 more to go.
That's right. We pretty much made everybody healthy.
Here we go.
Here we go.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, let's talk about this whole idea of blaming self. So, that also, again, like almost hands down, everybody who experiences or discovers their partner has been unfaithful deals with self-blame. Now, and I say everybody loosely, there might be some outliers out there, but I even think the people that I've seen that, I really don't feel that, or sometimes they will eventually, after they kind of get through the anger of it all, it starts to kind of show up, but there might be some people that truly have never blamed themselves, which good. That's what we want. We don't want you to blame yourself.
Right.
So,
right.
So why do you think that is? Like what's happening in the mind of people who are experiencing that level of betrayal, to where it's like the go-to is like, how did I let this happen? Or what's wrong with me? And
well, I think the answer to that is somewhat, theoretical, in that when you pick your partner, especially a life partner, there's an attachment there, right? This emotional bond. And that bond is supposed to give you some more certainty, right? To lead up to what we'll talk about a little bit, right? Yeah. To some more security. We're here. And I think when you make a very conscious choice to partner up, whether it's through marriage or some kind of other lifelong promise of commitment, that you are aware you're making a choice, and you're somewhat aware that it's a risk. But you are kind of putting all your chips behind the idea. Yeah, but we both want to do this, and so we're secure, right? And so when you find out that where you put all your investment was now a hurtful place, it's just very easy for it almost to boomerang back to, oh my gosh, I can't believe that I did that, right? I can't believe that I believed, trusted, et cetera, right?
And and they notice all these red flags, and then
All of
they
a
like, I
sudden,
ignored
right?
these red flags, and the thing that I talk to people about is like, it's not, you know, people get hit by drunk drivers go through the same process.
Yeah.
You know, like, I saw that car pulling out. I should have braked. I
Sure.
should have braked sooner. Or, I made a pit stop that I normally don't make.
Right.
And if I
Right.
hadn't have done that, I wouldn't even been in that area where that drunk driver was. And it's looking for all the things that I did wrong that made this happen. And I do think that there's some level of like, when your life has crumbled and you're feeling it's out of control, or your life is feeling unmanageable, you start grasping at anything you can
Sure.
to feel some semblance of control. And if that means blaming yourself, like, because if it's your fault it happened, right,
Yeah.
you can make it kind of
Yeah,
go
it's
away.
like a paradox, right? It's like
Right?
it's
And
the
so,
easiest person to blame is yourself,
yeah.
which also could be you have a history of beating yourself up, right? You're not very kind to yourself, etc. But also, the paradox of it is the more you blame yourself, then the more you can fix it. So it's almost like this reparative, like
Right.
intuitive reparative attempt, right? Of like, hey, listen, if I picked someone and they lied and betrayed me, I can still figure out a way through this,
Right.
right? So it's weird how all of these parts that or layers of this process come in with, I can't believe I feel so foolish. I can't believe
Right.
that this happened.
Right.
I can't believe I ignored. I can't believe I waited. I can't believe whatever.
Yeah, I think there. We had Whitney on last week where we talked about the complex PTSD,
Yeah.
and how kids are little narcissists, and
Yep.
our job as parents is to help them grow out of their narcissism by actually paying attention to them. There's another paradox there,
Exactly.
right? And I, we talk about how that that part of us still exists to some degree in there. So I do think, like, when you go through something like that, like it just kind of penetrates this very vulnerable part, whether you think of that part as like the hit my mic, the wounded child,
Right.
or
Right.
you know
Or maybe just part of the core experience of being a
sure.
human.
Well, I mean, I always like to think of things from a survivor standpoint, or
Yeah.
like an evolutionary, like, like why does my brain do that to me? Like, if I'm a partner going through that, why does my brain want, like, kind of not wanting me to, but kind of
Taking you there.
compelling me
Yeah.
to blame myself? Because if I'm in this part of the brain, I think is only concerned about life or death, so if my brain thinks I'm in war, I need to really kind of zero in on what I can and can't control, right? Like, if I'm going to survive this war, I need to start looking for those things, right? And maybe I need to believe I can control some things that I can't. Like, I'm more confident, like, when you hear the old war stories like Vietnam, they're 50 are going in and 25 of you aren't coming out.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, I need to believe that I will be one of the ones coming
Sure.
out, when really
Sure.
it's a crapshoot.
Right.
So all that to say, I think there is definitely the way this survivor brain works. It's I tell partners and people a lot that so I'm doing my hands again. That as much as they might feel broken or dysfunctional, as we say, like, the brain is actually functioning quite well.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's doing what it's supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
It thinks that you're in danger. I think there's a cultural phenomenon too, and I don't know, like, if our culture could have avoided it. I kind of feel like a lot of cultural phenomenons kind of just evolve and grow, largely has a lot of them out of immaturity and ignorance, until we don't know things, and we know things, and we're like, oh, we got that wrong. And some of that, I think, is this whole concept of find someone that'll make you happy. If you really loved somebody, you'd be faithful. Or if you or especially, like, some of the cultural phenomenon against women is like, you need to do your wifely duties. That makes me puke almost when I hear that. Do your wifely duties, and sometimes I think it's like that. when you grow up hearing all these messages, and it's also, heavily exacerbated by Hollywood with all the rom-coms and things like that, that, if somebody was unfaithful, then either I didn't love them enough for them to stay faithful to me, which is there's that blame, or they didn't love me enough. And a lot of times I think it's when I don't want to lose this person, does it behoove me to blame them, so I blame myself. And
So it's
and there we are.
adaptive
Yeah.
in some ways, even though that process of exploring that feeling of foolishness is really unpleasant. It's also adaptive.
Tell me what you mean.
Yeah, to
Like-
say I feel foolish, but what if I start really breaking that down and going through that feeling, exploring what that means, where that comes from. And then our last point, but I think you come to a different version of self, right?
Right.
And a different version of relationships.
Yeah. Are you ready to get out of here?
No, I'm just,
You
it
just
all
jump-
connects.
You just jump into our
Well, I
last
don't want to
point.
reference it and not be like, I know, we're getting there.
Carrie's ready to go. Can we get to this last point?
You know, I would always do a thorough job, Josh.
I know. It's
Okay.
hard to do a linear
I know,
discussion,
we don't
isn't it?
think that way. I know.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I'm like, I've done it too, where I'm like, oh, I'm getting
I
to
know
point
you
number
have,
2.
and I haven't pointed out. Like, you're jumping
Yeah.
ahead.
Yeah. But you're right. Like, I mean, it all, I like the word adaptive, using that word there. And I don't know, like, I mean, we're always going to have to contend with cultural phenomenons and bad cultural messaging and realize there's a better way. But the reality is that it's usually, like, when you think of those two things, like, either they didn't love me enough to stay faithful, or I didn't love them enough to keep them from reaching beyond our committed relationship. The reality is that they're both wrong. Like, those usually have nothing to do with why somebody was unfaithful in the relationship, and that makes things much more complicated. Which, if we're trying to grasp at something to control, that reality usually doesn't help. Do that. So, which is one reason why we will do like the recovery plan, so we can give them our clients some kind of structure to what they're doing.
Right.
And the partners, more so that from my experience, I think you've experienced the same thing. The partners appreciate that tremendously more than the unfaithful partner.
Yeah.
The
no, I
partners
think
who've
so.
been
Yeah, they
betrayed.
do appreciate that plan.
Yeah. And so, because they're hit with that chaos all at once.
Yes.
Like, abruptly.
Right.
Whereas I do think the person who's been unfaithful is dealing with some kind of chaos or unmanageability. And that's usually what this is all about, is managing that stuff.
Sure. Yeah.
But what the partners have to go through is just overwhelming, so it seems.
Yes.
So can we talk about these three common experiences with foolishness? So the three that I thought of are, I feel foolish that I let this happen, is one of them. And for some people, this is the second one, I feel foolish I let it happen again. And then the last one being, I feel foolish for staying.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which one do you think happens the most?
I don't know if I could say one the most.
Put you on the spot.
I know. I feel like it's just a part of a cycle through, right? You start with that one and you just keep going to.
I think it ends with that, or that's kind of what we're getting to the last one, right? Like, I feel foolish for staying. I feel yes, I feel foolish I let it happen. I see all these red flags.
Right.
How did I let this happen?
Yeah. And I think I still think there's something necessary for you to start replaying the history of, I remember that time that my gut felt weird. I remember that time that I was too tired, or I forgot something. Like, I think there's something valuable in kind of playing it back, because I think you're trying to understand something, right?
Right.
And so I think that what I usually try to help people with is, what you're looking for is like drawing a line backwards. You're saying, okay, at this moment in time, I found out about betrayal. Now I'm going to go connect the dots and understand, oh, it was that moment. That moment is how it led me to here.
Right.
And that's not a useful exercise.
Yeah.
We can look back so that we can have some understanding, right? So we can tell the story, but it's not going to give you a linear explanation, right? So I can't believe this happened. I can't believe this happened again. You know, that we're trying to look through and find these data points that give you this linear cause and effect, right?
But don't you think that underneath that question, the way you're asking it is, it's not that it just happened. Like it's that I let it
Yes,
happen.
right. I let it. If I had said something at that moment, if I hadn't been so over the top, difficult, whatever, fill in the blank there.
Right.
Yeah, then I could have kept myself safe. This wouldn't have happened.
Right. Which again, I think is normal to an extent.
Yeah.
I mean, I think we all have experienced moments in time where we have felt foolish about something. I think probably for most of us, anytime we get hurt, I know, like, we should tell how you hurt your foot.
It's not a good story. It's silly.
I just don't want to make you feel foolish.
I know. Well, I hurt my foot just last week by going outside without shoes on and stepped on a wasp.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah, and were you kind of like, man, I should have put my shoes on.
Well,
I always tell my kids, put your shoes on.
I know. I thought it, and then my sweetest of all kid, after she had brought me everything she thought I needed for my owie, she says, "Mom, I think you need to wear shoes outside." But she did it in I am proud of her because she
She's
took
sweet,
care
yeah.
of the injury first and then gave me the, you should have.
She's
right?
smart.
She is smart. She knew not to tell me first. But I do feel silly.
Yeah.
I know better than that, right? And, yeah.
Well, I mean,
And I should wear shoes.
but listen.
I've
so,
also stepped on nails. Like it's
Oh,
truly a history of bad feet.
Carrie, where are you walking
I
around
know,
barefoot?
in the
Construction
sand.
sites?
I know. Yes. That's where I spend my free time, just construction.
Yeah. It's like, I'll take my shoes off here.
That's right.
New challenge.
I think I see broken glass. I'm going barefoot over there.
No, but like, so we've had, we lived in our house for about 6 or 7 years, and man, I've never seen black widows before in my life, like I've seen at this house, and so I knew they like to get it in these little, the garden area where we have the little decorative bricks, and so, I like it when the kids were wearing shoes because I don't want them to step on a black widow.
Right, sure.
But I'm not thinking wasp. I mean, that's a lot, and it's always the thing that happens that is obviously not the thing you prepared for.
Yeah.
Right. And I've actually stepped on a wasp when I was a kid once, and had no clue what it was until like weeks later, and somebody suggested it was a wasp. I was like, oh.
Oh, that's what that was. Yeah.
Left a hole in my foot. But I think whether it's something like that or one that's happened to me plenty of times is getting a nail in my tire, and I know exactly where I got it because I was like, I probably shouldn't be pulling in here to turn around, and and it's some construction site probably.
You saw me walking barefoot, but
right, or but probably the worst for me is injury, like lifting weights or something. I know, like I've always prided myself on how strong my back has been, and I've never had back problems. And then I was always afraid of deadlifting, and someone helped me conquer my fear of deadlifting, and it became my favorite lift. And then guess what happened? Hurt my back deadlifting, and it's never been the same.
no.
And I'm like, oh, if only I had done that.
Yeah, I know. I do the same thing with deadlifting too. I'm like, yep, I know. I did it. I hurt my back again.
Yeah. And I was like, I was right.
Yeah,
I was
knew
right
it
from the beginning.
But see, again, foolish. That same thing. I knew it. I
Yeah.
knew I shouldn't have filled that in. Right.
Right. But, it's like, I did that when I was headstrong into CrossFit, which I know people have a lot of strong feelings about, in varying degrees.
Right.
CrossFit's one of those things you either really love it or you not only really hate it, you think it's the bane of the physical fitness existence, mainly because people get hurt.
Yeah.
But I really still, to this day, have valued my time there when I was doing it. And there's, if I hadn't have done that, there would have been so much I missed out on, so it's like, but maybe I should have just said no to this. And so,
I know.
Maybe I should have worn my shoes. But
Right.
are you never supposed to walk out in your yard and feel the grass between your toes?
Apparently not.
Damn wasps.
I know, they're ruining it. I know, but you're
Yeah.
right. But I mean, that's kind of what this is about, right? Is that
Yeah.
that one time you made that mistake, but there's been many times you did it and nothing
Yeah.
bad did happen, right? And so that foolishness feeling is, yeah, I knew I put, here, I pushed my luck, you know.
Yeah.
That's another,
Yeah. And so now we're talking about, just kind of everyday life things that, um, obviously it can bother us to varying degrees. And like the word, you know, getting stung by a wasp. I don't know how much you battled that feeling, but I'm just gonna assume not for very long. Okay, but the injury to my back, I battled that a long time. Like I suffered from depression from it because, and a lot of people do that when they get injured.
Yes.
Active people get injured and they can't
yes,
be active,
yes,
and they've hurt their bodies in a way that has changed, altered their
Yes.
course of
Yes.
activity. They will do that, But I still don't think it holds a candle to what
no.
partners are going
I don't
through in feeling that intense sense of foolishness as they look back and they kind of do the CrossFit thing. It's like I knew that deadlifts were dangerous, or I knew CrossFit wasn't regulated the way it needs to be as a fitness program or whatever it is
Yeah,
that you think.
totally.
They do the same thing with, I see all these red flags,
Yeah.
and I should have adhered to that. And then we had the episode we did on shoulding all over
Shoulding.
yourselves, right?
Yeah, yeah. I think it even like on the last point too, then that makes it even more challenging to say, about staying. Am I a fool to stay? Right?
Yeah,
In the relationship.
right. I think yeah, definitely. I mean, and there's probably other ones too, but on like, well, I was foolish for this or foolish for that, and now I'm foolish for staying.
Yeah.
And the thing that I tell people a lot is, and I have it's a quote that I actually use from time to time. I think I actually have it where we can put it on screen, where I say, the adage that goes, "Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me." That does not apply in a committed couple relationship. The fact of the matter is that vulnerability is the lifeblood of a healthy relationship. And if that's the case, then we are kind of required to put ourselves in a position of foolishness, to be fooled. And I think it was Donnie Van Kuren said, like, I want to put myself in a position where you could hurt me and hope you won't.
Yeah.
So I want to put myself in that position to where you could fool me, and I hope you're not going to. And this is how intimacy works. Like we always talk about intimacy, there's no such thing as risk-free intimacy.
Right. Right.
Well, that means that there's got to be a scary part of intimacy, right? There's got to be some risk to get the good, warm, fuzzy part and connective part of intimacy.
Yeah.
There's got to be a feared dark side to it, and this is one aspect of that, I think.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think it is too, and it is scary.
Oh, sure. Yeah, and I think a lot of times when people who are acting out sexually, they're trying to achieve what I call risk-free intimacy, which doesn't exist. It's a fantasy.
Yeah.
So to any partners listening to this, like, you're not foolish. You feel foolish, but you're not. You're doing what you were supposed to be doing. Just like if somebody was hit by a drunk driver and I catch them trying to go through that whole blame cycle, you were being a good driver, expecting everybody else to be good drivers. That's what we do when we drive. Nobody's checking their blind spots all the time or for drunk drivers.
Right.
Although I do. Do you come up on intersections, by the way, and start looking way down? Like, I do have a huge fear of getting plowed over at an intersection.
Especially, all intersections, but especially four-way stops. Yeah.
Yeah, the four ways. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about mainly.
Yeah.
So, but, if, traffic is traffic, you can't control for every single vehicle,
People
every
make
single
mistakes.
intersection.
Yeah.
All you can do is pay attention the best you can and be a good driver. That's what's required of you. You know.
Yeah.
So, I know hearing us say that just isn't going to take the feeling away.
Right. Right.
But
But it's worth listening and at least hearing for a minute.
yeah, I hope it
Right.
helps a little.
Yeah.
Like, I hope we can, water that seed a little
Yeah,
bit.
right.
Maybe it'll grow.
Maybe.
You know.
Yeah.
But I do think, I mean, we've worked with plenty of people that have been able to move past that feeling.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
But the reality is like, the most dangerous person in your life is your partner. You know, who killed Julius Caesar? Do you know? Do you remember?
Someone close.
Yeah. Do you remember his name?
Brutus.
Okay. Hey, I had to look that up.
Oh, you did? Et tu, Brute?
Because,
Yeah.
wow. Okay. You're much smarter than me.
No, you
Carrie.
just noticed that that's part of the vernacular.
I was not bringing this up so I could feel dumb.
Oh.
She knows the actual words. I had to look it up, and I was like, who was it that killed Julius? I knew it was like his best friend. I could not remember his name for the life of me. I'm like, Brutus.
Well, maybe you need to read Julius Caesar again,
He's
Josh.
like, got the name of a Rottweiler.
I know. He's brutal. Get it? Yeah.
That's where it comes from.
Perhaps. I don't know that, and now I need to know that. I'll look that up.
I wonder if it does have roots in
Maybe.
the word brutal in Brutus.
Right.
Or
Maybe.
who else was named Brutus? A famous cartoon character.
No, I don't know that. Who?
The Popeye's nemesis.
Oh. I haven't seen a ton of Popeye.
Rebecca, did you know that? No.
But
Hannah's,
good, I'm glad you did.
Hannah's not here today.
Right,
We have
so
Rebecca. filling
Rebecca's
in.
trying to tolerate
Yeah.
this, yeah.
So, okay, well, let's move on. So again, like you said, partners listening to this, it's extremely common to feel foolishness, but it's also a sign that you are doing what you're supposed to be doing, and you get to when it comes to that last one too, feel foolish for staying. You get to fight for your marriage or your committed relationship, as long as you feel like you got it in you
That's
to
right.
do that. You
That's
know,
right.
and anybody making you feel like friends or family, usually they're not trying to, they're just worried about you, you know.
Yeah,
But you might have to like say, hey, you know, like you got to get on board with what I want.
That's right.
You know,
That's
and
right.
I'm not gonna let this relationship was important to me. It still is important to me, and before I just let it go, like I want to explore, like is there a way to heal from this? And there often is, and sometimes there isn't.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
And so, if people are making you feel foolish, we got to put a stop to that. All right, so to move into our third point is this is kind of getting into kind of going back to where we started and the kind of
Yes.
circular discussion we were talking about is, if blaming is a part of us that is trying to grasp at, the straws of feeling somewhat in control of something, it's usually because when you experience this level of betrayal, you're cast into a world of uncertainty.
That's right. Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
So now my view is, it'd be interesting to get your view on this too, is that my view is that it's the world, uncertainty's always been the name of the game.
Yep.
But for partners, it's like, it's a pretty abrupt,
Yeah.
I don't know what word I'm looking for, kind of abrupt experience of a new reality, I guess.
Yeah. Well, I think that uncertainty is and always has been the name of the game, but I also think that life gets busy and we start connecting our actions to our life. I wear a seatbelt, I'm safe, right?
Right.
I live in a safe neighborhood, being a good parent, right? We start creating these lines, right, and these things of cause, right? And so our life starts to feel not as uncertain. As a matter of fact, feel pretty certain, right? I don't live in a construction zone. I won't have nails in my tire, right? All these things.
Yeah.
And then when you discover a betrayal, that demarcation of before and after, nothing makes sense. And so the uncertainty of everything is so in your face that even the things you had built, the constructs that you had, nothing holds any water anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, it makes you rethink everything.
Everything.
And then some people, you kind of, again, going back to the blaming, the self-blame is, like I should have known. Well, should you have? I mean, I don't know if there is a way to transition our children from a life where we are sheltering them to some extent, and then kind of relinquishing control little by little is ideal, right? To where they are, when they launch from our homes, they can kind of take the reins, right? But I don't know. I don't think there's a way to really prepare them for the uncertainty of life, to the degree that would make this experience not earth shattering.
Yeah, I don't think so.
I
don't think even if you read everything about how to affair-proof your marriage.
And premarital counseling,
and here, take a psych eval partner so I can, all that stuff. I'm not dogging on it. I think, knowledge is power. Good. I just think it's the same thing as, I'm going to live to 110 and never be sick because I'm going to take such good care of myself. Sometimes stuff just happens.
So I remember when I was going through a difficult time in my life, and by the way, something a lot of people don't realize is that they're really kind of, when it comes to betrayal trauma, the betrayal experience and the recovery of it, they're clients who have experienced infidelity will eventually transition into a space of recovery that a lot of people go through who don't experience infidelity. In fact, we might call it a midlife crisis or something. It's just that, and I think so. I believe that most people will go through some kind of transitional life experience that is very difficult and very hard, and the world does not make sense anymore. It's that when you're dealing with betrayal trauma, you're having to do that and deal with the betrayal injury at the same time. So, so I was going what I felt like was that period of my life, and I remember sitting in a comedy. My wife and I were in New York City, and we went to one of the little comedy places, which I thought was we were going to get trafficked or something, walking into this back alley and down into this dungeon, and I'm like, where is this place? But it was a comedy place. It was legit. And well, I say it was legit. There was only one funny guy in the whole, so it's where all the unfunnies go, I guess. But this particular guy who was really funny, one of the things that cracked me up laughing is was my wife and I sitting there, and we were probably 35 years old or maybe couple years older now, still in our 30s. And there's this couple, the two girls sitting across from us that were, the comic noticed that they weren't ordering alcohol, they only ordered water. And so he was like, are you guys even 21 yet? And they're like, no, we're 20 years old or 19 or whatever. And he just dies laughing. He goes, you guys don't even know you're going to die yet. And I about fell out of my chair, because that's exactly what I was going through, was really coming to terms with my mortality. And you remember this time in my life when I was I thought everything was going to kill me, not people, but my body was going to just stop working, basically. And do you remember, I don't think I've ever asked you that question. Did you ever have a time in your life where you're where you come to terms with your mortality? Someday I will die.
Yeah, but I don't know if it's been a moment.
Yeah, I feel like it was for me. Well, a period of time anyways.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's been one of those slower digestion things, but I remember being a kid thinking about it. I remember being in 5th grade thinking about it. So maybe I'm
well, heart breaks for you on that. You're supposed to be thinking you're immortal.
Yeah, but I don't know.
Maybe I'm just too middle child to do that. That's the difference.
You didn't have any room to do it. You had to
Can
take care
you
of
see how this
everybody
rocked
else.
my world? What? I'm not going to be a star on a Christmas tree my whole life?
Forever and ever and ever.
Okay, well.
Boy, this
what will the world do without me?
I know, there's the uncertainty, right?
For everybody else.
For everybody else, yeah.
How will people
They won't
function?
make it without you, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, anyways, so that, what I'm illustrating there, though, is that that when whether it's your mortality or maybe realizing that um, no matter how much this is something you said at one point in time that just really stuck with me. I should have put it on the screen. I didn't know I was going to say it. But one thing you said is that you can't love someone enough to make them love you back. And I've used that so many times with my clients. So whether it's that reality, that the reality I can't make somebody happy, basically,
Yeah.
or one thing that's hard about betrayal trauma is realizing like this has nothing to do with me not loving this person enough or them not loving me enough, and so all this whole rule system that
I've walked around with.
right that governs my world, I can't trust it anymore.
Yeah. It doesn't hold any water anymore. Yeah.
Right.
It's totally discombobulating.
Yeah.
Yeah. The world of uncertainty. I don't know how to navigate that. I liked my certainty and my parameters and my clear expectations.
Yeah.
Right.
And so I know my clients kind of probably get a little irritated in a nice way with me when they're like, what do I need to do? And I'm like, when I hear that question, I know you're looking in the right direction.
Right.
Because you're asking that because you don't know what to do.
Which means.
But that also means I don't know what to do
Yeah,
either.
but that's the uncertainty of it, right?
I don't know exactly what to do. Like what you and I are trained at we're trained navigators, amongst other things. Like we are, we pan out and try to see the forest despite the trees, and create a navigational plan. But do we know how exactly what is going to work for you as you chart your new territory?
Right.
Plus, if we charted it, it wouldn't work anyways.
That's right, because it's
We
ours,
have to help
not
you
yours.
chart it. So even if we knew how to chart it exactly for you, you still got to chart it. We still got to let you figure it out.
It's just kind of like parenting,
Oh yeah, it is.
right? It's
I
kind
mean,
of
we're
like
like
kind of like getting married. All of this,
parents.
the idea. Of course, I always say I'm a lot of people's mama. The idea, though, of once you know the world is uncertain, it can seem scary, and it's kind of like you don't know where to step, right?
Yeah.
But there's also freedom.
Yeah.
That's the payoff, right? Of
Yeah.
the world of uncertainty is freedom, because those old things that you used to love, maybe they've actually become chains, and now you're free,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
so,
I'm glad you said that because it can sound a little like hopeless.
right,
when you hear
but
us
it's
talk about
actually,
it.
but it's not, right? It's actually the answer. The answer is you'll have to,
Yeah.
what's the quote you always say from Lord of the Rings? I'll
Oh,
take the ring,
It's
though I
funny.
know
We just
not the way.
I still have it on there
Oh, okay.
somewhere.
Okay.
You-
But
I
just
just
the
saw it
idea,
on the-
right?
no, yeah, it's
You're going to
Frodo.
have to chart this
Yeah.
uncertain world, and you'll
Yeah.
go.
It's
You don't
Frodo
know.
saying,
Frodo, right.
I'll take the ring though I don't know the way.
And so
Yeah.
that is kind of that quote is what you take in and try to manifest in that recovery journey, and probably really in the world of mental health and relational health.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Exactly. So, let's close out. Let's talk about this whole gaining self thing, and we talk about the journey of self discovery, and there's no question in my mind that this is exactly what partners and the unfaithful partners are embarking on, and it can be a little long. It's not forever painful like it is when you first discover. But
Right,
if you think about it, like when you're dating and there's like no history between the two of you, and a lot of people will have like somewhere between a 2 and 4 year dating period. I mean, why? Because that's how long it takes to build the infrastructure to your relationship.
Sure.
And then it's usually not even really done at that point. You have to start living in it and realize what you need to to adjust and change, right? So when your infrastructure has collapsed, I mean, you're first grieving the loss of this relationship that you had, and then you have to go through the clearing process of like cleaning off the foundation, and then start to rebuild on this foundation. I always say the foundation is love. I mean, but most people who are building a house want more than a foundation to sleep on usually. So
They do.
so it takes some time, but it's not just like 2, 3, or 4 years of misery.
Yeah.
But it takes some time
It
to
takes
get
some
that
time. Right.
infrastructure rebuilt, with a new rule system that
Right.
has reinforced walls and
And enough flexibility to handle the uncertainties.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Um, and so there's, one of the first things that people often have to do is they really have to get to know themselves in ways that they never have before.
Yep.
And then
Yep.
of course when you're going through that process, you're also helping your partner get to know you in ways they never have before, and you're learning about them at the same
Yeah.
time. So that's why it takes a while to.
Yep.
What was the science that you found with the brain science that was talking about how long it takes the brain to change, and adapt? Because you were telling me that it fits with kind of that 3 to 4 year mark.
Yeah. I can't remember where that literature is.
Did you
Yeah.
remember telling me about it anyways? Like,
Well, yes.
I just don't want to get it wrong.
I don't. I know, and I know it's in a book, but I can't remember
Okay.
it now. So you put me on the spot.
Well, yeah. If
Yeah.
you might not remember it either because I might be getting my wires might be getting crossed on what I thought you told me about.
Well, but it
And-
does. I think let's just come back to it. It takes a while. It takes
Yes.
repetition and exposure for anything,
Yeah.
right? And we're always contending with new experiences, having to go up against past experiences.
Yeah.
Right. So it's just a little longer. I always give the
Right.
silly example of, when they change things around at the grocery store and you're like, oh, I have to think about where's the cereal, right? I
Right.
can't believe they put the pickles over here now. It takes your brain has to think, and it doesn't want to do that. It wants to just walk down the aisles and grab automatically. So when you're changing, it takes a lot of effort, it takes repetition, and it takes those feelings of frustration, right, for that reinforced change to happen.
Right.
So it does take several years for this. And again, I hate even putting years on it because, again,
Yeah.
in mental health, should be
Right.
always, reaching to grow and change,
Yeah.
right? But the pain of it is not years and years and years of the same
No,
pain.
I think that's really important to reinforce.
Yes.
Is that it's just, let's think of it as like, not just, building a house, but building, kind of, the layout of your land and some things that
Yeah.
you kind of got to kind of get it functioning the way that maybe a farmer would want to get. It
Yeah.
takes a
Yeah,
little bit of
it does.
time, but it's not like, once you kind of get some momentum with it, actually for a lot of people it gets quite exciting,
Yes.
in the
Yeah.
recovery process. But this whole gaining self thing, like it really will put the uncertainty in your face because there's a lot of fears and implications that come with gaining self. Like, what if the this version of me isn't compatible with the healthy
Yeah.
version of my partner? So it's not only does the healthy, I think people intuitively know that the healthy version of me cannot be with an unhealthy version of you.
Right.
Right. But there's also some uncertainty with, there's no guarantee that the healthy version of me gets to be with the healthy version
Yeah.
of you.
Yeah. No, it's unknown, and
Right.
that's really scary. Remember, we made a commitment. That gave me certainty.
Yeah.
Right, and then you go, oh boy,
Yeah.
maybe.
Yeah. I mean, this is one of the things I say pretty, regularly to people going through this, to kind of try to give them some kind of nugget to hold on to, is that there is no relationship on this planet that is worth the cost of self. The price of self. If there's a relationship that it comes at the price of self, then the price is too high. And I don't know. Again, it kind of goes back to what we were saying earlier. When we're young and we're getting into relationships, and we don't know how the world works. We don't know how that it is a world of uncertainty. And this is why I think most people enter into codependent relationships. And that we don't realize we're paying that price. We don't realize that
Right.
that
How can you know? Right.
that myself is about to get absorbed in this relationship, and then I've got to pull the self out,
Right.
and
maintain
kind of
yourself, yeah.
figure out who it was that I lost
Yeah,
in there.
and that's hard.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
absolutely is.
Yeah.
So it's definitely a marathon. It's more like what's bigger than a marathon?
Iron Man.
It's more like an Iron Man, maybe. I don't know. That sounds brutal.
That
It is brutal, though.
I mean,
but
it is. Yeah, yeah.
an Iron Man sounds hot. It's like I ain't doing it.
Really? Once
Well,
you said
I've
biking,
done a
I'm
marathon.
out.
Like so, it's like 27 miles. How about that? Have you seen those shirts? It's like 26.2 because
Yeah.
26.3 is just too much. It's too crazy.
Too much, yeah.
It's
I know,
crazy.
That's funny. I know. I know.
Yeah. Well, we appreciate people who have supported the whether it's our YouTube channel or the podcast. If you're listening to this on the podcast, just want to remind you to, now that you've made it through the entire episode, it takes 2 seconds to go and give us that 5-star review so that it can pop up on other people's feed. I guess that's how that works. I don't know. But
Do as it asks, right?
as far as you and I know, it's just 3 people that are hearing this. Me,
Sure.
you, and Rebecca.
That's right. Rebecca
Right.
will give it a 5-star
Yeah.
review, right?
She's like, she's like, maybe. I don't know.
I
didn't
don't
like
know.
this
Wrap
episode.
this
It
up
was,
nice and I'll
oh.
see.
Well, we appreciate everybody being here, and we'll see you back next time.